Raider Nation, good morning. I'm alive. I sound like crap, but I'll tell you this. It's a good day to be a Raiders fan. I feel great after the Ashton Jeanty pick. And if you want to hang out with Jeremy Chugs and I live on the Raiders board, we will be live all day for day 2 of the NFL draft. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you pull up. It's going to be another party here on today's show. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's program, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do a mock draft illustrating some of the picks that could happen today on day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm also going to sit up here and tell you some of the players that I think that Pete Carroll, John Spytek could potentially target in round 2 and in round number 3. Before we get into all that, though, let's just do a quick little recap of all the picks that happened yesterday. And no surprise, Cam Ward went off the board first. Travis Hunter, there was a trade up there with Cleveland. Abdul Carter, Will Campbell. Then, I know, Ashton Jeanty. Give me some Ashton Jeantys down below. What a freaking day last night was. Shout out to Raider Ron. Armin Membu, Tedero McMillan. Those are your first 8 picks. Then a lot of rumors around Kelvin Banks. He ends up going to the New Orleans Saints. Colson Loveland is the first tight end taken, not Tyler Warren. Warren ended up going at number 14 to the Indianapolis Colts. Jalen Walker, another player that was mocked a lot to the Raiders. He ends up falling at number 15 to the Atlanta Falcons. Walter Nolan, 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, at pick number 17 was Shamar Stewart. Gray Zabel there to the Seattle Seahawks. Emeka Egbuka, I was really hoping that he was going to be able to fall to us in round 2. Not going to happen. Jahdae Barron, Derek Harmon, Omari and Hampton. Kind of an interesting pick there, I thought, by the Chargers. Matthew Golden, Donovan Jackson. And then to round out round 1, a huge trade up by the New York Giants. They ended up getting Jackson Dart, James Pierce Jr., Malachi Starks, Tyleik Williams there, Josh Connerly Jr., Maxwell Hairston. What a trade, I thought, by the Philadelphia Eagles to get Jahad Campbell. I think, honestly, probably one of the best values in the draft. And then Ohio State offensive tackle Josh Simmons to the FKCs. So what I want to know down below is this. You got pick 37 and you got pick 68 today. Who do you want the Raiders to draft today? And if you come across this video, I want to know who you're thinking. And I don't want you to just sit up here and look at my mock draft because I'm going to have certain players that are available and certain players aren't going to be available to me. Before I show you how this mock goes, though, I want to know, who do you want the Raiders to get today at 37 and at pick 68? So let's go through here this mock draft. And again, I ran it on PFF. If you actually go to PFF right now and you run a mock, it'll just take you right to the second round. So Browns, Shedeur Sanders. The Texans went Mike Green. The Titans ended up going Donovan Ezuraku. And then the Browns ended up going with Luther Burden. I'm not going to lie, was really hoping that Burden was going to be able to fall to me. I think that wide receiver duo would be really spectacular. So I'm sitting up here going, we could go a few different directions. But I believe that the Las Vegas Raiders, if they are put in this situation, could end up going with cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. There are reports right now that some teams are a little bit worried about a knee injury, not in the short term, but in the long term. For the Las Vegas Raiders, they did so much homework on Johnson, and it kind of just goes back to a conversation that I had at the Combine where, I was told at the Combine per source that when the Raiders interviewed Mason Graham, they were asking questions about Will Johnson. I do wonder if one of those questions was maybe about the knee health, because if he's healthy, he's a first-round pick. I mean, there were some people that thought that Johnson could have gone number 6 overall, and this kind of reminds me of a situation, quite frankly, very similar to when the Raiders were able to get Trevon Merrick, a safety that a lot of people thought was going to go in round 1. The Jim Thorpe Award winner ends up falling around 2 because some teams were a little bit scared about a back injury. I think Will Johnson is a hell of a football player. And yeah, there might be a concern there with the knee injuries. But John Spytek and Tom Brady are Michigan guys. They've done a lot of homework on Johnson. Top 30 visit, NFL Combine, Pro Day visit. They have done all these things. He's an extremely smart player. He was the number 1 corner, I would say, in college football over the past 3 seasons. And this has been somebody that I've honestly sat up here and I've gone, could this be the next Richard Sherman for Pete Carroll? If Will Johnson is on the board at number 37, I could really see them go in this direction. The Athletics' Dane Brugler had this to say on Will Johnson. Johnson is more good than great in terms of twitch and speed, but he has outstanding eyes, feet, and coverage IQ to match and make plays on the football. He projects as a day 1 starting outside corner in the National Football League. I'll admit, I almost thought about going here with an Xavier Watts because I love what Xavier Watts brings to the table. Free safety also, I think, could play a little bit of nickel as well in the National Football League, and I think that might be a little bit of a bigger need. then outside corner. But I would imagine, and this is me just spitballing here, if you were to look at the Raiders' big board, Will Johnson's the top player on that big board, and because they went best player available yesterday in Ashton Jeanty, I could see them going that route again today. Let's also look, though, again at some other round 2 targets that, again, I would be more than happy with. I said up here on the show yesterday, and I said, if we leave round 1 with Ashton Jeanty, Armin Membu, or Mason Graham, I'm going to be a really happy individual, and those were picks 5, 6, and 7. Today, if the Las Vegas Raiders come away with any of the players that you see up on screen right now, I'm going to be a very happy individual. I'll tell you this, Carson, Schwesinger, Xavier Watts, Trey, Amos, Jayden, Higgins. There is so much value to be had in Nick Imawari, Kyle Williams. I can't wait for today, and I was really excited about yesterday. Don't get me wrong. But today, with some of the value that is on the board, and I don't know how much further Shedeur Sanders is going to slide. I was pretty confident he wasn't going to go early. I didn't know if he was going to fall out of round 1. I definitely believe there was a bigger shot that the Raiders could get him at 37-6. I put that out on social media, and, it is what it is. But the Shedeur Sanders slide is going to be a very, very interesting one. Another player that you could potentially look at for the Raiders in round 2, maybe in round 3, somebody along the lines of a Jalen Milroe. I don't know if I would go that route, but the Raiders could potentially do it. Before we get into how the rest of this mock draft ended up unfolding and some other round 3 targets that I would like for the Raiders to get, huge shout out, man, to PrizePicks. And springtime is here. It is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. And the fact that baseball season is officially underway, don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks lineup. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and much more. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. I also wanted to be able to show you guys my lineup that I did yesterday, and I was able to put some money in my pocket. And when you have certain things that you're really confident in, and I hope that when people watch this show, they're like, all right, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is going to go more, right, than 11.5. What about somebody like Travis Hunter? Was very confident he was going to go at number 2, took the less there. Was very confident Ashton Jeanty was going to go in the top 6 picks. I ended up going less here. If you rolled with me, you put some money in your pocket. If you didn't, it's all good. You got a chance to put some money in your pocket today with our awesome spots here at PrizePicks. So these links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Pay, Apple Pay, MasterCard. So if you're watching right now, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. So in my mock draft, I ended up going with Will Johnson. Here's how the rest of the board ended up falling. And if you want me to tell you who the picks ultimately were, it was in this order. It was New England, the Bears, the Saints, the Bears, the Jets, the 49ers, Cowboys, Colts, Rams. So you can see a lot of the value up there on that board, and there's going to be a lot of good players. So to me, I just really wanted to show where the players were from and kind of where they ended up falling on the board, just because at this point in the draft, trades are going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, Cam Scatabo, I thought it was kind of cool that he ended up going at number 57 overall. With the NFL draft, I do expect there to be a little bit of a run today. Maybe on running back, also maybe a little bit of a run on wide receivers. But the fact that, Kyle Williams is still there, Alec Ayomanor ended up falling to 64, Jalen Milroe goes off the board at 65, Jared Ivey, and then Jalen Royals. I don't really know if this is going to actually happen in the actual NFL draft just due to value overall. But if this is how this draft ends up folding, I am going to be streaking down the Dallas Speedway just because of how excited I'm going to be running to the podium, my way to Green Bay to announce Jaylin Noel. To me, Jaylin Noel, for anybody that watches this show, is known that I know for a fact that this Raiders organization loves him. They had a top 30 visit with him. They had a combine visit with him. They had a pro day visit with him. They love Jaylin Noel. And to get him in round 3 of this mock, I think it's phenomenal value overall, and I don't think anybody would really disagree with that. Quick, twitchy type of receiver, somebody that I think you're going to be able to pair really well with. Jacoby Myers going to be able to pair really well with somebody like Brock Bowers. Michael Mayer obviously throwing in that as well. He's a captain. That does matter to this organization a lot. A good football player on and off the field. And when you see somebody that can win one-on-one matchups in between. I think that this also is a really good combination for a receiver, like a Trey Tucker. Let Trey Tucker be an athlete. Let Jaylen Noel be the better receiver, because Noel is a better receiver, but I might be able to make an argument, though, that Trey Tucker could be a better athlete just in terms of the short area quickness. In terms of, again, when you're talking about needs, the Raiders have a lot of needs, and I want them to yet again go best player available. So if you have the opportunity to go best player available, it's worked for you in round 1. Technically, it probably would have worked again here in round 2 in my mock draft, and I'm going to stick with it again in round 3 here, and I'm going to go with Jaylen Noel, who I believe is a really solid outside receiver, can also play a little bit on the inside. 5'10", 195 pounds, had 80 catches last season for the Cyclones, 8 touchdowns, 1,194 receiving yards overall. His skill set, his ability to catch the football with a quarterback as accurate as Geno Smith, I think overall would be a really, really good pairing. So here are some other players that the Raiders could potentially target in round 3. Again, I am basing this solely off of the way that mock draft ended up unfolding. There's a lot of other players that ended up getting picked before me that I would still obviously love to get. But if the draft board ended up falling the way that it did, here are just some other players that I would throw out there to at least keep an eye on for the Raiders to potentially target on round 3. But it's really hard to predict how the draft's going to go. As we saw yesterday, anything can happen. Trades can end up going down. I would really say pay attention more to the players that I'm talking about as round 2 targets. Maybe one of those round 2 targets ends up falling down to round number 3 overall. Now, I appreciate everybody tuning in to today's show yet again. Friendly reminder one more time, we will be live for day 2 of the NFL draft. I got to talk to Chugs. I don't know when exactly we're going to be going live. I might try to go live 2 hours before the start today. We typically only go live 1 hour before on day 2, but since yesterday was such a wild day and we broke so many records, again, shout out to Raider Ron, shout out to everybody for just making this show what it is. From the bottom of my heart, I greatly appreciate you, but I hope I go to bed tonight as happy as what I was last night. I know I sound bad, but if you hear a Raiders fan and they sound like this, that just means that they had one hell of a time. And honestly, I'd rather sound like this and be happy than sound like this and be upset. Pete Carroll, John Spytek, let's crush it at the end of the day. I'll see you guys here in a few hours. Let's go Raiders.